Hey guys, welcome back to Tough Love with Yesenia G. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast. I want to shout out everyone who listened to the first episode and sent me messages. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate all your support. It matters a lot to me. Next, I wanted to briefly just talk about the name of the podcast, Tough Love with Yesenia G, and why I chose this name. Now, if you know me well, you know I give the best advice, but I deliver it in a very passionate way or in a very Leo way. So that's what you can expect from this podcast, some tough love. But remember, it's still love. And maybe the first time you hear my advice, you won't like it, but you can always come back to it later when you're ready. So let me know what you think about the name of the podcast and if you think it's fitting. So, on today's episode, I want to discuss some self care practices that I've tried and really liked. Then, I'm going to be asking you some questions to help you zone in on which self care activities can work for you. So, what is self care? It's the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health, the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. So that's the definition. Essentially, these are habits or behaviors that you can practice on your own to increase physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. I used to think self care was going to the spa once a year or that getting my nails and hair done was enough. But when I started therapy, I realized I needed to be more intentional with my self care practices because it was so important. And I knew I had to model it for my children since it was not modeled to me growing up. Being physically active is probably one of the most common or popular ways to begin your self care journey. I used to play Friday night co ed softball at a local park. So for many years. And that was my stress reliever after a long work week. And I've always loved playing sports, and it was an opportunity to hang out with friends and family. So it was a win win all around. But when the pandemic started and we had to quarantine, that stopped. So I began hiking and going on walks. And I realized how much I enjoyed it and how much I liked being in nature. And it brought me a stillness, a calmness that I craved that I couldn't get from softball. And being in LA, we are so blessed and lucky to have this weather and access to so many hiking and walking trails. So I began to take advantage of that. Now, another self care activity that I began and really enjoyed was painting. Something that I've always done with my kids is kept them involved in some type of sport or club so that I can see what they were naturally inclined to or what sparked their interest more. So I used that same approach for myself. I began to look through classes at local parks or community colleges, and I signed up for a painting class. And it was only 5 Saturdays for 2 hours. So it was totally doable for me. And this really allowed my mind to slow down because that was a problem, or it continues to be a problem for me Like my thoughts race. So this class helped me slow down, helped me concentrate, and create something pretty. And it made me think, hey, I probably have more hidden skills or talents that I need to uncover. So next, I tried a drawing class, and that one I didn't really like. But that's the point, for that was the point for me, just to try and see what I liked and didn't like. Next, I signed up for a tennis class, and that I really liked. I always wanted to play tennis or learn the basics, and I did. And I probably would. I'm thinking of signing up again because yeah, it was really cool. It was fun. And now these classes that I mentioned, I paid for, but nowadays you absolutely do not have to pay for any classes because of the internet, because of YouTube, Pinterest. You can look all of this up, right, and teach yourself. But me, I like to. Um, I like to have a coach or a teacher that I can ask questions to. But walking and hiking, that's free, right? Um, there's also resources for art supplies, like to receive free art supplies. Even at Dollar Tree, you can also find art supplies there. So all of these things can be cost effective. I don't want you to think that you have to spend money. No, absolutely not. Okay. But these are just some of the things that I tried and liked. Yeah. But now let me ask you a question. Okay. Now I want you to think about a self care activity or practice that can work for you or that you want to practice more. Okay. So if money was not an issue, if you did not have to worry about that, how would you spend your day to day life? How, or not how, what would your ideal life look like? No matter how wild or crazy it is, just think about it. What is something that you wish you could do more often? Is there anything that you enjoyed as a child that you still do today? So, whatever comes to mind, that should give you a clue on where you want to start. And yeah, you can call it a hobby, but it's not just about finding a hobby, it's about a practice or a ritual where you are connecting within, where you are learning what your needs are, what you respond well to or not. I think these types of questions and answers are important because ultimately it's our responsibility to teach people how to treat us. And how are we going to teach people how to treat us if we don't know that ourselves or we don't know ourselves as well as we should? Do we even know our boundaries? What are boundaries? That's something that I had to figure out that I didn't realize was a big issue for me. So, yeah. And I know maybe for you right now, you're going to get a lot of mixed emotions, maybe a lot of mixed feelings, but I also want you to think again about what is in your control, not about what is not. And by that, I mean, what are actions that you can take for yourself, not what can somebody else do for you, what needs to happen. It's about what actions you can take to take your life in the direction you want. And it starts with baby steps. So let me know. I want to hear it. And remember also, I let me know what you think of the name of the podcast. Leave me a response here on Spotify. I am going to be uploading the episodes on more platforms. I'll keep you posted. But please share my link if you liked the episode or if you thought it was helpful. Also, please let me know if there's any other topics you would like me to talk about in future episodes. I appreciate all the feedback. All right. See you later. Bye. Remember, y'all, I'm not a licensed mental health professional, at least not yet. But the information provided in this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Talk to your doctor.